This video is going to be a look at the Ravens coverage element and how they really whitewashed the Lions offense on Sunday. Everything is synced up. Kind of talked about this in a video display in the Ravens fourth down stop. Just open the third quarter. Scores 28-0 at that point. The Lions have moved downfield with the opening possession of the third quarter. Were they to get a score there? Very different game in the second half. Not necessarily expecting the Lions to be able to come back, but from the standpoint of how early players are able to rest. So important for your defense to get stops there, and I've been in that situation before, obviously at a lower, much different level. This Ravens defensive backfield linebackers, even their outside linebackers when they're dropping, they're making the quarterback make difficult choices. Of the choices to throw, let's say in the progression 1, 2, 3, oftentimes Goff was having to get to the second or third one, and even then the guy was well covered. There was no just wide open receivers immediately, very rarely. I mean, he did have one possession once the score was 35-0 where he kind of chewed us up. And then I thought there was about 4 or 5 throws in the second quarter where Macdonald changed some of the coverages up because we're up 28-0 at that point, and Goff was able to get some things going. But generally, Mike Macdonald and these guys clamped down on the receivers, had the perfect coverages called to time up or sync with the blitzes that he chose to use. And so what we'll do here in this video is we'll try to show you how multiple the Ravens were with their blitzes, with their stunts, and tagging them with their coverages, which were variable and often seemed to be used at the precise time to match the specific routes that were shown. Now, how can you do that? It's my offering that we're playing a lot of read coverages at times where our guys are matching routes depending on how they are deployed. And sometimes we're playing hard-coded zone coverages, but I think we're playing a lot of match coverages, and I think the Ravens are getting very good at it, and that's what's making it difficult to be really efficient throwing the ball against them in some of these situations that Goff dealt with. I think we're using a lot of split field coverages, basically. So it's a very interesting look. I'd like to try to offer to you as much as I can as what coverages I think I see. So I've got, I think, 8 plays here from open field situations, meaning the -20 to the +20. And then we'll finish with a look at a couple of those goal line coverages again, because I think one of them is really interesting. And then Geno Stone's interception to finish. So this is going to be about a 20-minute video taking a look at the Ravens coverage. Oops, sorry. Let me know if you guys enjoy it. All right, this first one is going to be first possession is empty. And you're going to have Humphrey up top with Kyle Hamilton. It's a 3-man rush. I think it's a 2nd and 6. Incomplete pass to Jameson Williams down bottom. Already talked about it a little bit. Brandon Stephens is not giving Goff much of a window down here on this little out by Jameson Williams. Who, I think he catches the ball, but he's out of bounds, and it's because Brandon Stephens is really squeezing him on this little out that he's running down here to the bottom. But check out Kyle Hamilton sift past Sam Laporta to go get Gibbs into the boundary. Obviously, Goff is not looking in that direction. Meanwhile, you got Owe dropping out, Queen blitzing from the boundary, and only 2 other Ravens defensive linemen rushing the passer. So you've really got a 3-man rush here in Queen and 2 D tackles. Clowney has dropped out, and so has Owe. And we've really clogged things up for the 2 and 3 receivers here, and all Goff has really, to me, is a I don't want to say bad choice, but a lower percentage throw, even though I think Jameson Williams does a great job trying to make the catch. That's all that was available to him on a 2nd and 6. Just an illustration of whatever Mike Macdonald and the Ravens were calling, they were giving Goff bad choices to choose from. I shouldn't say bad choices. Lower percentage choices to choose from. This is a 2nd and 6, an out route to an incredibly fast receiver like Jameson Williams. You would think, okay, he's going to get some off coverage, there's going to be some cushion, and we're going to be able to complete that. No, Brandon Stephens made it difficult, and so did the other guys at the top side, and Marlon and Kyle Hamilton. All right, first possession. This is the 3rd and 7. You're going to get motion across. This is the sack by Matabike. It's a 4-man rush. Watch Humphrey collision. First of all, watch Humphrey's hustle, and then Sewell picking up the football, and we're trying to tackle him, and the guy who does tackle him is Kyle Hamilton, who ends up way downfield on the snap. So this is Humphrey collisioning the receiver, number 1. This is 3rd and 7, like I said. And then Stephens and Williams, they're just so in sync together. When those guys are next to each other, you just watch them. they're responding in tandem. It almost looks like, this is going to sound like a weird comparison. It almost looks like synchronized swimming, those two. They're so reactive. You can tell they're responding to the same key, the quarterback. But in any case, look, you've got Marlon jamming the number 1, which I think is Green over here. And then he's looking for the drag to take over to Reynolds, or possibly to cover Gibbs if Gibbs goes out into the flats. We did this a couple of times where we're really deep to one side. Perhaps the boundary side is my guess, and we're not as deep to the other with either Hamilton or Millette. Millette, of course, is the nickel, so he's not necessarily a deep safety like Hamilton and Stone. I think we were trying to play on the fact that Goff likes to go to the boundary short, and letting Humphrey play short into the boundary, the flats basically, oftentimes, was taking away as many of those options as possible for Goff and making him work to the field where the nickel defender is. And I thought also Roquan Smith did a great job in coverage for most of the day. I'm not sure that I'll be able to cover him here in detail other than 2 plays. All right, second possession, you got Bunch to the field here up top. And Stevens and Geno Stone down here to the bottom do a great job of covering up Gibbs. Now, I think there's a little bit of a mix-up. I actually talked about this one a little bit earlier in the week. Queen's on a blitz, and we use this coverage often, particularly against teams that like to get the ball out quick. And what I mean by this coverage is if you get something in the flats and you get, either a snag or a slant by number 1, the Ravens will blitz Queen at times in this particular call, so that removes him from that coverage equation. And you got 2 choices. The corner can kind of sit here in the flats and take the out or the shoot route by the running back, and then that releases the inside route to the safety because Queen is out of the equation here. Or you can do it the way that it seems like Mike Macdonald's doing a lot to the boundary now lately, is man up number 1 with the corner, so let Stevens run with that, and then let the safety, Stone, spin down and take the running back. Well, they kind of do both. You can see that they've released St. Brown inside. It ends up working out in our favor. It's a 2-yard gain on attack. Everything Brandon Stevens is doing right now is working. His reaction, and he's so heavy to the ball in terms of seeing the ball from the quarterback that there's probably times where he's trying to communicate the coverage, which it looks like he is here, and then he sees the ball thrown, so he's like, oh, okay, I don't need to go with the guy on the slant. But if he's, I don't think that this is exactly the way Mike Macdonald wants this to be covered, because the opportunity for St. Brown is there. But Geno and Brandon Stevens respond to the quarterback so quickly throwing the football that it may just be me being a little picky and thinking that we've left a guy open with a short window, which was very rare on Sunday. There weren't too many clean throws for Goff in timing, in sync. And additionally, their left guard, left tackle on this play, really weird protection. You've got Owe rushing off the edge, Queen blitzing, like I said, and watch the left guard, left tackle. They just totally mixed this up, trying to deal with Pierce, and no one really touches Owe at all. At first, when I saw this live speed, I thought this was a screen. This is obviously not a screen. There's nobody working out there. Very lucky, very fortunate for the Lions that Owe didn't get his hands on it or get a quarterback hit if the ball wasn't thrown so quick. 3rd and 7, second possession. Humphrey up here is just going to blanket the number 1 receiver. I think it's Green. Humphrey looked really good on film. Someone in the Discord pointed it out yesterday, and watching the film, watching about 20, 25 coverage snap, Humphrey looked fantastic. Kyle Hamilton is on Sam Laporta and just blanketing him to the boundary as well. Watch Roquan. First of all, I guess here's Hamilton. He's going to take Laporta. So you check that out one time, and I'll run it again. Roquan collisions receivers 2 or 3 times on Sunday on these crossers, and it just obliterates them. Now, he doesn't knock out St. Brown here. St. Brown still had a heck of a day, don't get me wrong. But he gets a piece of him, takes him out of the route. That's covered. Stevens and Millette, again, are like, the dynamic duo. And then you've got Hamilton covering Laporta. This ball, there's really not many good options here. This is not a high percentage opportunity for Jared Goff. I'm not saying that, it's a good throw, but it's no high percentage opportunities being made available to him. And we're only rushing 4. Right now, what the Ravens are doing on defense against one-cut passes is taking away everything. What I mean is we're not seeing a lot of double moves. People aren't getting time because we got 29 sacks. I think that's part of the factor there. But against singular moves, an outcut, an in-cut, people are not breaking open. I'm wondering what it's going to take for the Cardinals or or the Seahawks or whoever to come at us with something different. Some mesh rub routes, some pick routes. But we do a great job of passing those things off right now and not getting picked, essentially removing ourselves from playing man in that situation and letting those routes sift out or work themselves out and then cover them. Right now, everything that Mike Macdonald is doing and the DB coaches as well is fantastic. This is third possession. And I think you're going to have Humphrey down bottom on Laporta, just jamming him up completely. Queen also jamming up, getting out on Gibbs to the boundary. Our boundary side coverage was spectacular, I thought. So Humphrey just jamming up Laporta. Queen is going to sift out of here onto Gibbs. And you can see the release by Laporta is designed to kind of maybe hedge Queen inside, bump him so that Gibbs can get the angle. He cannot. Over to the top side, we've got Millette on the nickel blitz. Perfect timing. And then we're dropping out the 2D tackles. Ridiculous level of planning and efficiency by this Ravens defense. This was a 2nd and 10, I think, or 2nd and 7. And we caught Goff and the offensive line by surprise. Really, really surprising the way that we were able to physically defeat the Lions' offensive line at times, and how we were able to, in some ways, kind of outsmart them. No one, dealing with Millette at all, and no one open on the play, which, we're focusing on the coverage here. That's the part that I think is amazing. When we're running all these different stunts, no one's open. Fourth possession, this is Humphrey on the blitz. Nearly gets a sack. Van Noy finishes it off. We actually blitz both corners here. This is I haven't seen this for the Ravens since the Tennessee Titans game in 2020, where we would blitz both corners off the edge on early downs to try to stop the run against Derrick Henry. We blitz Stevens and Humphrey here. Stevens a little bit late, actually inserts inside. That line I drew was a little bit inaccurate. Dropping Pierce out as well. And then Roquan, check out Roquan running with the middle of the field vertical that he gets. It's a unique coverage situation, if you ask me. We're dropping out the D tackle to the boundary. There's only one receiver over there. We've really just totally abandoned this guy if you're going to get an outcut. Pierce is going to drop out. And watch Roquan run with the middle of the field vertical. His coverage on Sunday I thought was amazing. I saved probably 6 or 8 plays to use for a video for him, maybe later in the week or next week. He just looked really smooth and decisive when deciding which guy to cover when he had multiple, receivers trying to run around him. Got 2 guys over here to this side would be the only, complaint that you have about the coverage, because we're bringing both corners. So we're talking about a 5-man blitz and then a zone coverage, 3 deep, 3 under distribution. Let me get back to that and show you one more time. So kind of a 3 deep because Roquan is running, the middle, basically running the pipe between the hashes, and then 3 under distribution leaves you a little bit open if the quarterback has time. This case, Goff scrambles out to his right, and his 2 receivers that were covered over there by Millette were to his left. So no opportunity to throw the ball. 3rd and 9, 4th possession again. Humphrey is just locking someone up down here on the bottom side of the screen. Well, I think it's Green. I'm not sure why he was on so much as opposed to Jamison Williams. Down here on the bottom side of the screen. Additionally, you got great recovery by Brandon Stevens up at the top. Kyle Hamilton is taking number 3 vertical from the trip side. Hamilton's taking that over. We've got this covered. Again, it's a 3rd and 9, so Queen is quite comfortable leaving all this space for Gibbs, and I think that's a good thing, because if Queen, and we used to teach this to our outside linebackers, I know he's an inside linebacker, but if you press up too fast on this, then you leave this guy all alone. We want you as a help defender, we want you as a help defender for an in route, or a hook or a comeback or something like that. Give that corner some help. Team defense, the Ravens are doing a great job of that. Roquan carrying 3 vertical, making sure that Goff would have to throw this ball over the top of him where Kyle Hamilton could react to it. And then look at Millette's leverage. He's inside leverage on 2. Roquan is inside leverage on 3. So they're utilizing the safeties behind them perfectly, because the quarterback would have to layer the throw over top of them. I'm not saying that it couldn't be done, but the Ravens are making quarterbacks' choices difficult, giving them only low percentage options where you have players who could respond if the ball is thrown over the second level in the form of both safeties. Beautiful play by Brandon Stevens, too. I thought St. Brown had a fantastic game like he normally does in terms of his production, but I thought Brandon Stevens really made him work when they were matched up together. Third quarter, you got a 3rd and 19. This is going to be the penalty. I mean, this is 3rd and 19, guys, and we're running our zone blitz. Oftentimes, we'll run cover 3, just straight cover 3, 4-man rush, 3 deep, 4 under on 3rd and long. This time, Macdonald, again, it's 3rd quarter. I think it's 35-0 at this point, but I might be wrong. We're going to look at Arthur Millette. Look at where he is. We're bringing him from here. And we're bringing Roquan, who is kind of covered up by that first line. But we're bringing both guys almost kind of through the same area because we're letting Oweh rush outside. So Roquan takes on the back. Gibbs right here. And then here's Millette late. We've dropped out Van Noy to the boundary. We do get pressure. They get a completion and a stop, but we get a penalty, obviously, on, I think, both guys for making contact with Goff in the helmet. So it's another zone blitz, another 3 deep, 3 under. Additionally, look where Kyle Hamilton is lined up to the boundary, and then he's going to take off. He's going to run with one of these verticals from the other side of the field that we've vacated because, Millette is blitzing. Don't tell me that guy can't run. Additionally, we're not really blitzing Urban here. I'm not sure, why he's maybe he's screen protecting or something. So it is a zone blitz with a 5-man rush, but it seems to me as if Urban was just occupying the left tackle there, or left guard, left tackle combo, and not really trying to be a part of the rush. Successful blitz from the standpoint that we get a quarterback hit. Clearly, we don't want to get a penalty that gives them a first down on a 3rd and 19. All right, the last normal situation, then we'll look at some goal line stuff. It's a 4-man rush. Watch Humphrey and Queen pass off the drag to the top side, and then Humphrey come up and make a tackle into the boundary. Humphrey and Queen are up here together, and I think you get a drag by St. Brown, the number 1. They pass him off, meaning they just call something, in, let him go. You can see Queen communicating immediately. And again, to the boundary, I think they're allowing Marlon to play, more so in a flats distribution to handle some of the short stuff. No one is really breaking open here right now. Goff is quickly checking down to the running back, and you may say, well, that's too quick because there's no pressure on him. Well, he is open, and it is an absolute one-on-one. We just happen to have a guy over there who can tackle his butt off in Marlon Humphrey, and it ends up being a 0-yard gain. The ball was completed like 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. I think Marlon played fantastic. He did get 1 defensive penalty, but when you watch the film, like I watched it late Tuesday night and early this morning, I was really impressed with how he played, with how quickly he was reacting, how physical he was. It'll be really interesting to see him and Brandon Stevens matched up against Marquise Brown, who's getting a lot of targets for the Cardinals so far this week. Moore and some of the other guys that they have at receiver. They're going to try to get the ball out quick. Our coverages right now, at least against the Lions, put us in perfect position for the way the routes were distributed. And I'm looking forward to seeing how we do the same thing against the Cardinals, whether Dobbs plays or Murray does. Let's take a look at some of the goal line coverages, particularly the one to start the 3rd quarter, where the Ravens got to stop to preserve that 28-0 lead. This first one is a 3rd and goal, the preceding play. Amon-Ra St. Brown is in the backfield, which the Lions do often. And the Ravens identify it. To me, it looked like Brandon Stevens and then Odafe Oweh identified it. Queen ends up, locking up on St. Brown because he recognizes the route that's potentially there. Usually when the Lions put St. Brown in the backfield, you're getting something like this, like an out to the boundary. In this case, St. Brown, brings it back into the middle of the field. Additionally, they're setting up the ensuing play. Gibbs is the running back. He's lined up as the outside guy right now. He's going to go underneath, and he's going to occupy Roquan Smith. And then the second route, I think, is the one they want, which is to St. Brown. That one gets covered up by Patrick Queen. But let's focus on Smith for a second and then keep this in mind when we get to the next play. Gibbs is going underneath, gets taken over by Roquan. The very next play, they run the same route concept with a wide receiver, so good adjustment or attempt at an adjustment by Ben Johnson. And Josh Reynolds is going to bring that route, break it off up to the middle of the field, and Roquan makes a great play on that. So on consecutive plays, you have him covering the drag, the underneath by the running back. And then on the next play, he covers up what looks like the same route and ends up being shooting it up into the end zone by Josh Reynolds. Pretty good throw by Goff over top of Roquan, just a better play by Smith. Let's check the bottom side. Remember, keep this in mind again, it's a third down. The Ravens, I think, are playing down to the bottom side of different coverage because they got two down here. I think they're playing funnel. So inside out with Millette, outside in with Humphrey. That's not exactly the path they take. I'm just drawing the funnel for you. And then Hamilton being the guy responsible, whoever the first player is through that funnel, through those two gates that the Ravens have basically given them. Look at the outside leverage that Humphrey has on Jameson Williams, inside leverage that Millette has. What makes all this possible, devoting these 7 people in coverage? When you can get pressure with your 4 guys up front, which the Ravens are doing clearly. Not a great job on the stunt by, I think it's Pierce and Clowney. They kind of run into each other, but Owe dipping inside defeats the center, and just constant pressure by him. I don't know how many pressures he had on the day, but it was a lot. All right, so St. Brown back at his normal alignment, so there's no communication by the Ravens defense in terms of an irregular alignment, a wide receiver being in the backfield. St. Brown and Green is down here. Reynolds is the guy who's going to run the underneath drag. And I think the Ravens are in the same coverage, at least to the top side of the field, to be honest with you. It certainly looks like it's to the downside as well. The funnel coverage, Smith is being threatened by the drag from Josh Reynolds, who's having a great season for the Lions, mind you. And he takes that drag and shoots it, up the hash, right near the A and Ravens, between the A and the V. And Roquan adjusts to it immediately. The recognition, the athleticism to deal with it, first of all, by Roquan. Additionally, you've got Gibbs out into the flats. Here's Reynolds, going to bring this up here. Laporta could potentially be running a post-corner fade, but he kind of brings this route back. And we match this with 4 over 3. And then down to the bottom side, we've got our funnel again, 3 over 2. Perhaps if you're facing a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, who is so elusive and ability to extend the play, you can't devote so many guys to coverage. That's the quandary that the Lions defense was in. I think that was illustrated perfectly by the way Lamar threw the ball, how many points we scored. Our pass rush is obviously different from the Lions from a cumulative standpoint, how many guys can get after the quarterback. You were bringing 4, able to devote 7 in coverage. Goff is, I think, making a pretty good throw, gets it in Reynolds' hands. Roquan ends up with the football. Beautiful play by him. 2 examples from the early third quarter possession where we make a stop because that's 4th down there. And if they get a score there, if Josh Reynolds catches that ball, it's 28-7 or perhaps 28-8. Totally different game. And as Ravens fans, I don't know about you, I was definitely concerned, hey, if they get a score here, it changes the dynamic of the second half. We got to play our starters longer. But in any case, let's get to the 4th and 1, from the 4th quarter. It's going to be incomplete to Jameson Williams. We're bringing 5, always getting pressure. Queen is blitzing. It's the 4th interception of the year for Geno Stone. I think we're playing our 3 deep, 3 under. Zone blitz, basically. Hamilton is going to drop down, and he's just going to slightly redirect Jameson Williams enough. Marlon is going to get depth. Geno Stone drops to the middle of the field. I think Stevens is still in, so that's our deep 3 guys. You can see the 5-man rush orientation that we're taking. Owe has got, I think, a called outside stunt. Matabike late. Queen. Van Noy is 4, and then we got another D tackle in there. I think that is Pierce, but I could be wrong. But you can see the way the routes are supposed to work out. I don't know if Williams is supposed to take this up, somewhere in this area here, near the hash, between the hash and the top of the numbers. You have the over route developing late by St. Brown. Not time for Goff to get to that route. You can see that Owe is winning on the backside against the tight end left tackle combo. Maybe if that ball was thrown in a different location, Jameson Williams has a better shot to try to go attack it, but Geno Stone is all over it. That's the side of the field he originated from. I'm talking about the top side of our screen, the right-hand side of the Ravens defense. Regardless of where this ball was thrown, Geno Stone's eyes are all over Jared Goff right now. He's going to be able to react to it. Just beautiful coverage relationship. We've been beat on this route many times in this coverage in the past 3 or 4 years. I'm talking about predating Mike Macdonald with that route there being open and the quarterback having time. That's the difference this year, is that when we're bringing 5, the quarterback doesn't have time to get to routes like that. And the Ravens have made people pay. Geno Stone with his 4th interception. Our coverage timing, it's not just do we match up, but it's when we match up. Our recognition seems really high to me, and I don't see this stopping. Arizona is going to challenges. I know they run a lot of screens and short passes. This defense right now is on fire and operating in sync. And the Lions, unfortunately for them, took the brunt of that on Sunday with so many guys getting sacked, so many guys getting to the football, getting hands on people. The coverage element of what Mike Macdonald is doing right now, I think, is amazing.